This is a holiday week, but Texas politics certainly didn't take the holiday off. Let's get our headlines from our panel, and we'll begin first with Connie Sweeney with the Highlander. Connie, what's your headline for the week?
Parade of politicians gobble up time and money.
And Brian Smith with St. Edward's University. Brian, what's your headline for the week?
In session 4, vouchers stall out like an old Buick.
Now, state lawmakers, they got the week off somewhat from the special session. A lot of them used this break to prepare for a possible last-ditch effort to reboot school choice next week, or to just bring this special session 4 to a merciful end. Brian, I'm surprised that a compromise really didn't make it in 4. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised because even with the expanded education agenda, there wasn't enough sweeteners to get opponents to flip. The Republicans could never overcome the Democratic talking point of it being welfare for the rich, and the rural areas didn't see an upside because they don't have the population or the private schools to make it work.
Now, Governor Greg Abbott has not officially thrown in the towel on special session 4, but he has started work on his promise to punish House Republicans who don't support school choice. One of those Republicans, Andrew Muir from the Hill Country, this week said he won't seek re-election. That's opening the door for a pro-Paxton candidate who is in the race. Connie, what are you hearing about that? And are there any signs that maybe Democrats see a door opening there?
Well, Rudy, any kind of talk of a potential Democratic contender in the deep red region of the state, you kind of just hear the sound of crickets. However, there are a couple of GOP primary hopefuls that have thrown their hat into the race. First of all, Wesley Verdell, who's from Brady. He ran against Andrew Murr in the last primary election, but he lost, so I think he's giving it another shot. And also, there is another candidate who has said he would like to seek the GOP nomination in Andrew Murr's position, and that is Hatch Smith Jr., and he's from Llano County. He is a hospital administrator, and he's also an appointee of Governor Abbott to the Lower Colorado River Authority Board. Well, on the one hand, you have Verdell, who has the endorsement of Paxton. You now have Hatch Smith, who was appointed by the governor to a big entity. So it'll be an interesting race, I think possibly contentious during the GOP primaries, but no matter what, there's going to be new leadership in that House District 53 position.
Now, while Governor Abbott was planning to primary some of those state party members of his own, he was also on the border this week endorsing the re-election bid of former President Donald Trump. Brian, is that endorsement more of a sign of him trying to mend fences with his hard right base?
Yeah, it is a sign of unity in a session marked by disunity. All the other top Texas Republicans have endorsed Trump, so it's a very safe bet. He's leading in the polls, and we don't remember endorsements as candidates get the support of the party no matter who it is at the end.
Trump does have some very strong polling numbers here in the state of Texas. But Connie, are there any signs that the other GOP contenders, maybe Haley, DeSantis, do they have any support out there in the Hill Country? Are you seeing anything, or is this red Trump country out there?
Typically, when you see an endorsement for a governor, that might give a little hint as to which way the state may go. But then again, both Haley and DeSantis have been getting a lot of airtime because they're showing up to those GOP debates where Donald Trump is not. When you look at the optics of what's happening over on the border right now, and you have a governor and a presidential candidate who are both pledging to work together to possibly try to combat illegal immigration, that might hold a little bit of weight with some of the voters in the state. But ultimately, it appears that that kind of optics that you were seeing is just B-roll for the campaign trail.
A local university made some news this week regarding the presidential campaign. Texas State is going to hold one of the first, if not the first, presidential debate. Brian, the polls say the debate will be Biden-Trump rematch. But I still think that these early primaries may throw us a curveball. What's your crystal ball saying?
A lot can actually happen between now and who gets the nomination. And the one thing people don't want to talk about is we have two candidates who are over 77 running for president. I remember when Bob Dole was too old at 73 and John McCain was too old at 72. But Biden still has a lot of advantages. We renominate sitting presidents in the modern era, and he's not facing serious challengers from within the party. Where the biggest surprise is going to come from is the Republicans. Polls don't vote, voters do. And if Trump has some setbacks in the early primaries, one of the other challengers could come up as a real rival. Trump also has the problem of indictments and stormy civil lawsuits. And if somebody better does come along, the Republicans will drop Trump like a Patrick Mahomes pass on a Monday night game against the Eagles. But Trump's big advantage still has the name recognition, money, and GOP support. And that's going to be hard to beat. So Biden Trump still looks like the odds-on favorite, but anything can happen.
That's right. A lot of passes then dropped for Mahomes, but you know what? Dak had a comeback with the Cowboys, so there you go. Yeah, there's the comeback kid sometime, and even in politics. Well, talk about a comeback kid. Ken Paxton just won't stay out of the news. This week, the whistleblowers who once worked for Paxton asked a Travis County judge to compel Paxton and his aides to be deposed under oath in their civil trial against him. That came after a Burnett County judge decided not to help the Attorney General block that move. Connie, were you surprised that the judge essentially just backed off out of that legal fight?
Well, Rudy, there's also a chance that that same judge in Burnett County will eventually punt the countersuit by Paxton over to the Travis County judge. There's a hearing coming up in mid-December about that. But it appears that ultimately Paxton's attorneys may face an even bigger challenge if he does that, because then that means he'll go before a Democratic district judge instead of a Republican one, as is the judge here in Burnett County. What Paxton's attorneys want is more guarantees that either Paxton is going to show up in court and answer to the accusations, or he's going to pay up. And now, because the body that would have been asked to pay up, and that's the Texas House, impeached him, they know that that's not likely that they would vote for that $3.3 million payout. So basically, they're going to be pushing this issue in court.
What do you think, Brian? Could a payout kind of like derail this if Abbott does flip the House to his supporters and Paxton's supporters?
I've been so wrong so many times on Ken Paxton that I don't know what's going to happen, but just these swirling lawsuits of the political, the civil, the legal, eventually the dam is going to break and we will get a resolution on at least one or more of these.
All right, let's serve up some Turkey Day leftovers and wrap up this week with one word. My one word would be drumstick, because I feel like that we've been beaten over the head with a drumstick with politics this week. Connie, what's your word for the week?
We've been talking turkey, so I say gallinaceous.
And Brian, what is your word for the week? Wrap us up.
Well, Abbott loves to go down to the border, and my word is endorsement.
And that is another week in Texas politics.